Hello and welcome to episode 139 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we continue scaling up infrastructure, decorating it along the way, and then we quickly progress through the entirety of the quantum force transformer progression, so we can make Redox polymer in a QFT. Continuing on with the new multi-decorations, here are 24 chemical plants, all maxed out, botmium casings, eternal coils, tungsten steel pipe casings, and I tried to decorate it a bit, but I didn't want to make too many of these because I don't think they're going to be used that much. Because for the most part, it's just like single crafts. The only thing I mass produce really is mutated living solder. And there is a QFT recipe for this, so eventually this is going to replace the chem plants, at least for living solder. So I didn't make too many chem plants. But yeah, I think 24 UMV chem plants will last me until that point. The next two bottlenecks that I've noticed: the wire factory and the synchrotron. Synchrotron is just a matter of upgrading the hatches to a higher amperage and higher voltage. So that's pretty straightforward. And the wire factory is currently on the shelf. I would like to redo it without wall sharing because right now it's very hard to keep track of what is linked to what. So I'm going to tear this down, remove it from the shelf, and also get rid of the old chem plants. And I'm going to put the wire mills in one of these two quadrants. This looks pretty cool. I can't wait to decorate this. I have some nice ideas. This is definitely the play, to not share them, because that gives me many more slots to put in crafting input buses. And right now I'm using the maximum number of crafting input buses, so the minimum number of wire factory casings. So I have 9 in the front, 3 on this side, 3 on this side, and then 8 in the back. And now all that's left is to decorate it. Alright, I think this is pretty cool. It's a little incomplete on purpose. So I have a feeling 64 wire mills is not going to last me until the end of the game. So I intend on making more wire mills and just stacking them up here. And my idea is that these sort of bands of support bands, I guess. I'm kind of picturing this as like a bunch of rubber bands holding these together, basically. But these bands are currently going in this direction. And my plan is, once I add another layer of wire mills, I'll have another set of bands going this way. And then it's kind of crisscrossing and alternating as I build more wire mills. But alright, wire mills are done. Fluid shapers are done, autoclaves are done, chemical plants are done. The only thing left right now is the synchrotron, and then I'm going to do some more crafting, try to identify some more bottlenecks, and then whatever I find next is going to go here. Alrighty, after a bit more investigation, it seems like my new bottleneck is actually space assembly. Right now I only have 3 Mark II space assemblers, and I still need to make a dedicated space elevator for assembly, because this is actually the mining one. I'm still sharing it. And I have the perfect spot to place the next one. This deserted village is the perfect spot for a new space elevator. The inhabitants are no longer in the way because they are all dead due to the toxic fumes emitted by HamCorp. Before, we upgraded to UHV muffler hatches, so if people wanted to move back in, they would be able to, but no one has. So, this is the perfect spot for another space elevator. But I kinda just am not in the mood to build this at the moment. Part of me wants to wait until 2.8 so I can matter manipulator it, because this is a lot of manual work still. Just clearing out the area and trying to be careful about the boundary so that I don't over dig. It's just a pain. So for now, the village is open for anyone to move in, but I don't think anyone will. And in the meantime, I can work on a little bit of progression. But quickly, just before that, I just want to say, no more Tesla Tower. It's still in here, it's just off, because I have successfully removed every cover from the base. Also, I upgraded the beam lines. They all run at 256 amps of UIV for now, so this is done as well. And as for the last crafting bottleneck that's going to go in this quadrant, it's actually going to be the mixers, because I'm sure I'm going to need tons and tons of Melion, and this is 15 seconds at UMV. So I think it's time to make 64 mixers, and put them down here, all at UMV. And once that's done, I can make some Melion and some Creon and do some progression stuff. Mixers are done. This is kind of a weird experimental design, I guess. I expect to need many more mixers, so I've kind of made it possible for me to expand upward, similar to the wire mill situation. But I couldn't just leave it naked, so I put a little bit of decoration on it. And this means I can make molten Creon and molten Melion. Just set up QFT number 2, and I finally decided to flip them back upright because the force field effect being all fucked up was starting to bother me. And also the fact that the force field glass doesn't rotate. It looked really silly before. So this second new QFT is going to be making the hyperstable self-healing adhesive, as well as super glue, advanced glue, Indaloy 140, and soldering alloy. So I no longer need to make these, meaning I can remove the patterns, and I can also get rid of any passive chem lines, and I will. The only thing is I need to figure out some way to automate when to turn the QFT on, because I don't really want it running all the time. So I'm probably just going to put down a drive here and a little subnet with one drive for the hyperstable self-healing adhesive, and then some fluid drives for the other ones. And then probably I'll just have a level emitter with some OR gates down here. So if anything is low, then turn on the QFT. That said, now that I have the self-healing adhesive, I can use it to make cosmic fabric shielding cores and cosmic fabric manipulators. Specifically, after this recipe, the monazite line replacement, this will give me superconductor rare earth composite, which is what I need for the Godforge. That's my current short-term goal. So cool. One more QFT coming up. Actually, I never noticed this before, but there's a whole quest line about upgrading the QFT. And after reading what happens here, I have been seriously sleeping on neptunium and fermium plasmas. So I'm going to make one more QFT, one that uses plastic polymer catalyst. This is used to make all the different plastics. I'm also going to get my hands on some neptunium and fermium plasma. I already make plenty of this stuff. And that will unlock the tier 2 quest, at which point I can use a rare earth group catalyst, both for making the Godforge and also for QFT progression. Then I can make tier 3, which is the infinity infused tier, and advanced Naquata catalyst. This lets me skip the Naquadria line along with Naquata itself. And the infinity infused stuff is also pretty easy to make, needs hypogen, but that's no issue for me anymore. And then finally, I'll have access to the tier 4 QFT, the space-time tier, and the biological intelligence catalyst. And this thing will let me skip biocatalyst. That would be so nice. It's also the highest tier QFT, which means I can skip Radox as well. And surprisingly, the space-time components are also not out of reach at all. I could make this. It's going to be quite expensive because it's UMV emitters for each one, but it is doable. And you also need Shirabon for the space-time bending cores. But that's also fine. So maybe I'm gonna quickly shift focus to maxing out my QFTs, because then a lot of my biggest bottlenecks will be solved. So to quickly say something about how the plasma affects the outputs of the QFT, it's all laid out in this quest, and I know 90% of you are allergic to reading. It's not really important how the specifics work, but basically Neptunium plasma allows you to select a specific output, and the chance for that output is increased at the cost of the chance for the other outputs. How much of an increase depends on the casing tier relative to the recipe tier, and if the casing tier is 2 or 3 over the recipe tier, the focused output is 100% of the output, and everything else is 0. So this is not possible for tier 3 and tier 4 recipes, because you're never going to get +2 or +3 over the recipe tier, but you will still get more of the focused than the unfocused. And then there's fermium plasma. This one seems kind of busted, like really good. It seems to just boost the outputs overall, and you can apply both of these plasmas at the same time. And here it even gives an example. So if you have a recipe that has a 20% chance for each of 5 outputs, and then you have +2 or +3 casings over the recipe tier, and you provide both neptunium and fermium, then you get 100% of the focused output and then 50% of the rest, which is much higher than the base value. So I'm just gonna quickly cover the QFT progression, how you get from tier 1 to tier 4. Tier 1 is just crafted. Tier 2 requires hyperstable self-healing adhesive, which is made with this tier 1 recipe. Tier 3 needs superconductor rare earth composite, which comes from the monazite skip. And tier 4 comes from black body Naquadria super solid, which comes from the Naquadria skip. These things don't have many other uses, except for the rare earth composite that's used in the God Forge. But the other two are only used for making Stargate crystal dust, as far as I can tell. As you can probably guess, I don't think I'm gonna need this until the end of the game. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on these things to get the progression done. And then after that, I'm just gonna leave it unfocused, or I'll focus it to something that I need based on what I need. All right, time to build more QFTs. So that's tiers 1, 2, and 3 of the QFT done. Tier 4 requires UMV components, so I need to upgrade my component assembly line before I do this. I mean, I don't have to, but I want to, because 25% of input resources being saved would be really nice. Especially for the UMV field gens. Ouch. These are definitely expensive. Quantum circuits? Yeah. I'm still missing a few things for the UMV component assembly line. Mostly the Redox polymer. And I think because this is all going towards making the tier 4 QFT, which will be able to make Redox polymer, I think it makes some sense to crack my heavy and super heavy Redox into super light Redox so that I can make more Redox polymer out of it. So far I've been saving these two. I haven't been cracking them because I need them for dimensionally shifted superfluid. Specifically, I need the heavy, so the super heavy is being cracked down to heavy. But if I can get a tier 4 QFT, then I can skip the whole xenoxine processing, which would save me so much time. But I do need to be careful to make sure that all the dimensionally shifted superfluid has been crafted before I crack all of my heavy Redox polymer, so I need to do these crafts sort of piecewise. I'll make sure I have all the dimensionally shifted superfluid. But alright, quick little diversion to make UMV coil. That said, these two laser engravers are not cutting it. So I need to move these and make more. I'm not sure where to put them. Maybe above the chem plants, because the chem plants are going to be somewhat obsolete pretty soon. So I don't intend on stacking more of these. So I think I'll put them here. And more extruders would also be nice, but the laser engravers are my biggest bottleneck right now. This should be much, much faster as far as lasers go. But the problem is they are unpowered. Because I need to put in some 64 amp UMV energy hatches, and those are a little expensive. But they're coming along, and I'll just add them over time. But I think this is a pretty cool design. I've never tried anything like this before, to have it as part of like a structural beam support thing. I think it's kind of cool. And if I need more, I can just invert the structure and place one on top. I think that would look pretty cool. Anyway, I'm building 2 more DTPFs. They're not cheap exactly, but they're not too expensive to make anymore. Because this is a pretty big bottleneck now. Making space-time kind of sucks. And it probably doesn't seem like it from the video, but at this point it's been a few days of recording for this episode. I'm at 1.5 million Redox polymer. That's with all of this crafting going. So I expect to be able to finish the T4 QFT by the end of this episode. I hope. Or at least at the start of the next one. Anyway, UMV component assembly line is coming along. Just need a billion more space-time, so yeah. And here is the final Tier 4 QFT. With this, I can do all of the QFT recipes, which means I can much more easily obtain Redox polymer and xenoxine, which is amazing. One more major development is I've made all the casings for the Forge of the Gods. Now I need to make more complex parts, starting with the remote graviton flow modulator. And this needs graviton anomalies, which need gravitons. And while I can get them from the compact cyclotron, it's going to be much faster and much easier to use the QFT. Actually, I could have done this with the Tier 3 QFT. Anyway, Forge of the Gods stuff I'm going to save for next episode. For now, I'm just happy that I've finished the QFT progression completely. And now I can pretty confidently say that most of my bottlenecks are solved. The biggest one, by far, is the DTPF. And second place is compact fusion. So, those need to be scaled up. And that should be easier with the T4 QFT, but I'm also going to need more power, so I need more Dysons. Antimatter is also an option, but I want to wait on that a little bit. I'm going to need more Dysons to power the Godforge anyway, so I'm going to work on that. But for this episode, we have seen a lot of progression. So I will see you next time for the Godforge. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will construct the Forge of the Gods. Between now and then, I will set up more Dysons and more QFTs, and the next episode may take some time, as I plan to put in quite a bit of effort. The Godforge construction montage needs to outdo the space elevator construction montage after all. See you next time.